It's 11:47 on a Tuesday night, and a woman named Sarah is about to make a decision that feels small, but quietly isn't. She's staring at a flight from New York to Chicago, $214 round trip, and she's been watching it for days, refreshing at different times, almost expecting something to change. But it never does. And that's exactly what makes it subtle. What she doesn't realize is that every time she comes back, she isn't just checking the price, she's being measured. Her hesitation, her timing, her uncertainty, all of it is being recorded and quietly fed back into the system that decides what she sees next. The number just sits there, steady, predictable, almost comforting. Her finger hovers over the buy button, and for a moment she's ready. But then that familiar hesitation creeps in. Maybe it drops tomorrow, maybe there's a better deal, maybe waiting is smarter. So she screenshots the page, closes her laptop, and goes to sleep, thinking she's being patient, maybe even strategic. 9 hours later, coffee in hand, she opens the exact same flight, same airline, same departure time, same seat class. Nothing has changed, except one thing. The price is now $387. She refreshes, still $387. She opens an incognito window, $391, because in systems like this, hesitation doesn't just delay your decision, it teaches the system how to price you. And once it learns that, you're no longer looking at the same product, even if it looks identical. Most people stop thinking here, they shrug, blame timing, call it bad luck. But what if that explanation is completely wrong? What if the price didn't go up at all? What if the $214 ticket and the $387 ticket were never the same thing to begin with? And here's where it gets strange. What if that seat Sarah saw last night doesn't even exist anymore this morning, even though it's the exact same physical chair on the exact same airplane? What if nothing changed about the seat, but everything changed about how it was being offered? Because the truth is, when you buy a plane ticket, you're not buying a seat, you're buying access to a version of that seat. One of many invisible versions layered on top of each other. A single airplane with 180 seats doesn't carry 180 identical products. It carries up to 26 different versions of each seat, stacked like hidden floors in a building where you can only see one level at a time. The industry calls them fare classes, but a more honest name is buckets, because each one represents a completely different version of the same seat. Different rules, different flexibility, very different prices. Two people sitting side by side can pay completely different amounts and never know. And here's where the system starts to move. Airlines don't just assign seats to buckets once, they adjust them constantly, sometimes multiple times per hour, not based on what already happened, but based on what the system believes is about to happen next. Behind all of this sits something most passengers will never see: a revenue management system, quietly acting as the brain behind everything, tracking searches, hesitation, competitor pricing, historical patterns, real-time demand, then making a decision. Not about what the price should be now, but about what people are likely willing to pay next. It opens cheaper buckets when demand feels soft, and quietly closes them the moment it senses enough people are ready. Sometimes it pushes a few seats into a higher tier, because the algorithm predicts they'll sell anyway. So the $214 ticket Sarah saw wasn't just a deal, it was the last available seat in a specific bucket. And by the time she came back, that version was gone. Not because the plane was full, but because the system no longer needed that price. And that raises a deeper question. If airlines can control pricing this precisely, why not just price everything high? Because airline seats have a problem like almost no other product has. They expire. A bakery can sell bread tomorrow. A store can discount clothes next season. But an airline seat becomes worthless the moment the plane takes off. You can't save it, you can't store it, you can't sell it next week. It's just gone, which means every seat is racing against time. So airlines are constantly balancing between two disasters: price too high, and flights go out half empty; price too low, and they lose money on every seat. So they do something more subtle. They do both at the same time: sell some seats cheap to guarantee volume, hold others high to capture margin. But you can't show both prices to the same person, because the expensive buyer would just choose the cheap one. So the system separates people without them ever realizing it. And the way it does that is almost invisible. It watches when you buy and how trapped you are. A consultant named David flies from Dallas to San Francisco every month for work. And because his schedule never locks in until the last minute, he always books about a week out. He's used to it by now. $600. Sometimes $700. Sometimes $900. It doesn't matter. His company pays, and he doesn't think twice. That's just what flights cost when you book late. Or so he thinks. Then, one month, by pure coincidence, his client confirms the meeting 3 weeks early. He books the exact same route, same airline, same time of day, $289. He stares at the number. Same flight he's taken dozens of times. And it's never been anywhere close to this price. David didn't find a deal. He didn't get lucky. He didn't do anything differently. He simply showed up at a different moment, and the system saw him as a completely different person. 3 weeks out, he looked flexible, like a tourist planning ahead. 1 week out, he looked trapped, like someone who had no choice, and trapped buyers always get the most expensive bucket. Like the system doesn't sort seats. It sorts people by flexibility, by timing, by behavior. And once you see that, you realize the price was never about supply and demand. It was about you, about how much room you had to walk away, and how accurately the machine could measure it. Most people fly their entire lives without ever seeing this system. But once you notice it, it's hard to unsee. And if this is starting to change how you look at the prices around you, you're already thinking differently than most people ever will. That's what this channel is built for. Pulling back the layers that most people don't even know are there. So if you want to keep seeing what's underneath, subscribe. And if this one hit different, a like goes a long way in helping this reach someone who's never questioned these systems before. And I'll say this, the comments on these videos are sometimes better than the videos themselves. If you notice something I missed, or you've seen the buckets show up somewhere else, tell me, because I read every single one. Now, the buckets don't stop at airlines, because airlines didn't stop at timing. They added something else. Psychology. You've seen it. Only 3 seats left at this price. But that doesn't mean 3 seats are left on the plane. It means 3 seats are left in that version of the product. The plane could be half empty, and the cheap version is already gone, because the goal isn't to accuracy. It's pressure. Scarcity messages, countdown timers, warning text, all generated by the system, designed to turn hesitation into action. And sometimes, the system is watching you hesitate. Repeated searches signal intent, and rising intent can push you into higher priced buckets. Not because the flight changed, but because you did. So, where did this come from? 1985, a man named Robert Crandall, CEO of American Airlines, and the industry around him is collapsing. Deregulation had ripped the market wide open, and suddenly, small, scrappy airlines were flooding every major route with fares so low they felt like a provocation. They had tiny planes, non-union crews, almost no overhead, and they were stealing passengers, not slowly, but steadily, route by route, month by month. Crandall couldn't match their prices. His fleet was too big, his unions too expensive, his infrastructure too heavy. If he dropped every fare to compete, American Airlines would bleed out on every single flight. But if he held his prices, he'd watch his passengers walk away. He was trapped between bankruptcy and irrelevance, and he knew it. So instead of choosing between 2 losing options, he built something no one in the industry had tried before. A system that could sell multiple prices on the same flight at the same time. Cheap seats at the bottom to steal back the budget travelers. Mid-range in the middle to hold the core, and full fare at the top for business passengers who needed to fly and didn't care what it cost. All without letting any group see what the others were paying. It was elegant. It was precise. And it saved American Airlines from collapse. Within a few years, every airline on the planet had copied it. But here's the thing about systems. They don't stay small. The original structure had 4, maybe 5 pricing tiers. Clean. Simple. By the mid-90s, it had grown to 12. By 2005, 20. And by the mid-2020s, the system had expanded to 26 buckets. And the humans who once managed it had been quietly replaced by machine learning systems, adjusting in real time, learning faster, reacting sharper, optimizing without fatigue, without hesitation. What started as a tool to survive a crisis became something much larger. A prediction engine that doesn't just price tickets, it reads people, classifies their behavior, and assigns them to an invisible tier before they even reach the buy button. And this is where the story stops being about airplanes. Because the bucket system didn't stay in aviation, it spread. So, the next time you see a price, ask yourself something simple. Is this the price or just the version of the price you're allowed to see? Because you're already inside the system? You always were. The real question is, how many other invisible buckets are you sitting in right now without even knowing it? And if this changed how you see the world around you, this is just one system. There are others running quietly underneath the things you use, the things you buy, and the things you believe. One of them is on your screen right now. Pick it, and I'll see you there.